Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video I will discuss a clinical case of Crohn's disease. An 11-year-old boy presents with a 3-month history of intermittent bloody diarrhea and weight loss. He has perianal skin tag and fullness in the right lower quadrant on examination. He has a microcytic anemia and an elevated erythrocyte sedimentation rate. There is a family history of ulcerative colitis in an uncle. Now MCQ 1. Which of the following is the most likely diagnosis? A. Ulcerative colitis, B. Crohn's disease, C. Infectious colitis, D. Clostridium difficile infection, and E. Immunodeficiency syndrome. And the correct answer is B, that is Crohn's disease. The family history of inflammatory bowel disease and the duration of symptoms with weight loss are suggestive of inflammatory bowel disease. Crohn's disease is the most common inflammatory bowel disease in children. The perianal skin tag and fullness in the right lower quadrant suggest transmural inflammation and ileitis respectively, which are both associated with Crohn's disease. Ulcerative colitis would also have bloody diarrhea but not skin tag and less likely fullness in the right lower quadrant. A family history of ulcerative colitis raises concern for either Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis. Infectious colitis is usually more self-limited except for the Clostridium difficile infection. Although he should be tested for enteric pathogens, including Clostridium difficile, there would be a still high degree of suspicion for inflammatory bowel disease even if an infection is present, suggesting this infection might be a comorbidity or a presenting feature of the chronic illness. When immunodeficiency syndrome presents as colitis, this occurs in young children, that is infantile, less than 2-year-old, or very early onset, that is less than 10-year-old inflammatory bowel disease. Now question number 2. What is the most useful next step in the evaluation of this patient? A. Upper GI X-ray series, B. Fecal calprotectin, C. Upper endoscopy, esophagogastroduodenoscopy, and colonoscopy, D. Abdominal ultrasound, E. Serological inflammatory bowel disease panel. And the correct answer is C, that is upper endoscopy, which include esophagogastroduodenoscopy and colonoscopy. In the evaluation of suspected inflammatory bowel disease in the pediatric patient, a full colonoscopy with ileoscopy is indicated to evaluate all affected areas and to attempt to differentiate between Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. Now, an upper endoscopy is often performed to assess for any microscopic inflammation in the upper GI tract. This would be a much more typical of Crohn's disease. Now, only endoscopy and biopsy can provide a tissue diagnosis, which is the gold standard of Crohn's disease. Upper GI study with small bowel follow-through in Crohn's disease often reveal ileal or proximal small bowel disease with segmental narrowing of the ileum, that is string sign, and longitudinal ulcers. However, a tissue diagnosis would still be lacking. Fecal calprotectin is helpful to decide whether to perform an endoscopy in a patient with equivocal signs or symptoms, or to follow a patient who has a diagnosis but may have mild symptoms. Now, this patient would likely have a colonoscopy even with a normal fecal calprotectin. Abdominal ultrasound can be useful for evaluation of an abdominal abscess or appendicitis, but is less useful for identifying mucosal disease. Again, a tissue diagnosis would still be lacking. Now, although a serological panel for inflammatory bowel disease can be helpful, especially to add to the information which help distinguish Crohn's disease from ulcerative colitis, it is not a sensitive or specific way of screening a general population. Now, a diagnosis of Crohn's disease was made and treatment initiated. This patient returned for well child care while being followed by a pediatric gastroenterologist. Now, question number 3. What is the most likely intervention in his future? A. Varicella vaccine, B. Medication to reduce stress, C. Endocrine referral for growth failure or growth hormone consideration, D. Restriction of milk, E. Surgery. And the correct answer is E, that is surgery. Children with Crohn's disease are likely to have surgery in their future to treat the penetrating disease, including fistulas, perforation, or strictures. In the first 5 years of diagnosis, about 50% of the children will need surgery. Now, varicella titers should be checked at diagnosis. Most children who received a varicella vaccination on schedule will be immune. However, patients on steroids or other immunosuppressive medication have a contraindication to the live virus vaccination. Most patients with inflammatory bowel disease are not treated with stress-relieving medication. There is no evidence that inflammatory bowel disease is caused by a stress. However, living with a chronic illness can be stressful, and stress can make a child with inflammatory bowel disease feel less well or even contribute to the flare-up. It is important to address normal as well as special care stresses that may be affecting the patient's ability to cope with the chronic illness. Now, growth failure is not expected in children with adequately treated inflammatory bowel disease. In some patients with growth stunting, catch-up growth may be achieved with adequate suppression of inflammation, nutritional supplementation, and rarely addition of growth hormone therapy. Lactase deficiency may occur transiently at the time of diagnosis if there is extensive small bowel disease. Otherwise, lactose restriction is not needed as a part of routine management of inflammatory bowel disease. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel.